Hello, everyone. Welcome to Stream and Hub Radio. I am Sage Stevens, the host of Shout Out with Sage. And today, my guest, it hails from Montreal. He's a French-Canadian actor that you can see in the new Paramount film Mercy, opposite of Jon Voight and Jonathan Rhys-Meyers. He is also on ABC's A Million Little Things, Netflix's The Night Agent, and a host of other TV shows and films. He currently is in production of a documentary with that they talk about racism in soccer, and it is called Red Card, the Color of Football. And today I want to welcome to the show Sebastien Roberts. Hi, Sebastien. How are you?
Hi, Sage. I'm excellent. Beautiful weather. Thank you. How are you?
Cool. And you are in LA, right?
I am. Yeah.
Right. Okay, cool. So I'm glad you're here. How did you end up being an actor?
Oh boy, we're jumping right in, aren't we? Yeah. The short version is tragedy happened in my life, and I decided to change my career. You know, I had a kid when I was very, very young, and I got a job that I didn't pick necessarily. I kind of needed to provide for my family. And then when that tragedy happened, I said, you know what, life's too short. It's time to think about me. I'll take care of Jesse, who's my son. But what do I really want to do? You know, so it was a life-changing moment for me. And I had done plays in high school, obviously amateur, and some improv, 2.5 years of improv tournaments here for fun. And I thought, you know what, that would be a great way to release this a lot of emotions I had going on at the time, right? So I just took some workshops, and next thing you know, teacher says, you know, you got some talent, you should go to school. And it didn't take long. I ended up in theater school in New York, and my career picked up. It happened very quickly. So the tragedy in my life is the reason why I switched. I made the switch. So this is my life today. I see the positive. It took a negative.
Right. Well, everyone, lots of people have really traumatic experiences and life-changing moments, and sometimes that's needed to sort of make you realize that maybe you're not, fulfilling your life path or something like that. So how long was it from that moment of tragedy to you actually pursuing acting? Like how much of a span was that?
After the tragedy, I mean, I probably a year and a half after the tragedy, I decided to, actually, I saw an ad in a newspaper about acting workshop. And I ended up being intrigued, and I was in that moment. I mean, the tragedy, I lost my twin sister to suicide. I can say it, it's been a while now. That's, I don't hide it. It's documented, it's out there. And after a year and a half of having all these emotions, and I had a lot going on outside of that as well. So a young Jesse, a young son. So when I saw that ad, I thought, no, you know what? Why not? It ended up being a workshop at night, twice a week, just like a lot of people do.
Right.
And that teacher, Warren Robertson, actually, who passed away, I think last year, said, you know, I'll make a phone call. A couple of weeks later, I ended up in a neighborhood playhouse in New York. So it went very quickly. That was a year and a half after the tragedy that I ended up in New York. And then shortly after that, I started working quickly in French. French is my first.
French. Right. So you went from Montreal to New York, or you were already in New York?
No, I was in Montreal. I went to New York for school.
Okay. Yeah. So you were already in New York doing things and living. What was...
No. I was in Montreal. I was living in Montreal, New York, just for school.
Okay.
And then I went back to Montreal, yes.
Okay, I understand. Cool. What was the biggest obstacle when you first got to New York for you?
Honestly, I don't think there was no obstacle. I mean, I really needed the escape, the release. Anybody that's taken acting lessons and stuff, there's a lot of trying to open up. And I remember my teacher after a couple of weeks, saying, you're a lot more sensitive than you allow people to see. And he would tap my chest and say, you gotta let that, your ex-hockey player and macho, and you gotta, I remember he told me once, he says, hurt pays a lot more than anger. And then I always stuck, because the macho guy, this was he was telling me, but I agree with it now with 20 something years later. You have a choice sometimes. The macho guy has, you get angry and
right.
But sometimes you just not, are you really angry? You're just hurt. You're allowed to just.
Yeah, to be vulnerable, you need to let people see that vulnerability in you, because, everyone puts on their mask and I'm so tough and nothing can hurt me. Right.
Exactly. And it was a good lesson for me, because, living with all the other actors, there's people from all over the world at the Playhouse in New York, and they all had a different story, and it was a healing process for me, because there was a lot of emotions that I could share with these people, and there's a lot of things I could share during the scenes that we would pick, and so the timing was great. And yeah.
Right. My one acting teacher, she always would say, you can only act what you know. Like, if you haven't experienced it, it's sort of hard for you to act it. So I think that those of us who have had a lot of ups and downs and maybe some bad things happen, then we have more to draw on for our acting when we're up there. So
I would agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you can use imagination. There's a lot of people that would say otherwise.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But when you've lived through something, I think it's another level of depth, for sure, of understanding.
Cool. Now you're in LA. What brought you to LA?
Well, I've been coming, here for a long time now, back and forth. When the weather is bad, I half live here, I go wherever. If I'm not working on something, and now the auditions, everything's online, right? So Zoom. So I don't have to be in one specific place. My son is grown now, so I just, the winters, many times if I'm not shooting, I'm in Los Angeles, and also because I had some important meetings with the documentary, Red Color of Football, which is great. I got involved in that as my first project, getting involved as an executive producer. I got on board because last year, the strike, there was not much to do. I was originally supposed to produce a film with this production company years ago, and so they knew I wanted to produce, considering there was no acting, and they were doing a documentary. They said, "Sebastian, you want to get on board?" It was perfect timing. So it kept me sane during the strike, to say the least.
Something to do, so you're not not being bored. Tell me a bit more about Red Card, The Color of Football. You're an executive producer, and this is your first time as an executive producer?
Yes, it is, actually. There was a film, like I mentioned, with the same I was supposed to do, and then COVID hit, and that kind of was a co-production with Germany. The COVID hit, and we weren't allowed to travel, and so it's been in the back. I never picked it up again. There was other projects that were on the table for me that I couldn't. This film, I would have to lose weight and all this stuff. So there was a lot of prep. The timing just wasn't right. So it's been shelved for now. And then when he mentioned, let's just do the Red Card. You were asking me about what it's about, or?
Yeah. What's it about? What's Red Card about?
When he approached me, the company likes to do projects that help the world, or like to improve it, or save the whales.
Like social commentary, social justice. Stuff like that.
There's a lot of films that they like to do good by the world. So this racism in soccer, through friends that they have, our director did the Martin Luther King Jr. documentary, the Donavan Bailey Story. There was a lot of connections with some minorities that had gone through racism, and so the whole project. One of them was a soccer player. The whole project came about, and then a little bit of research, and next thing you know, there's definitely. There's room for improvement, so to speak.
Yes, there's always room for improvement, I would imagine.
As a white guy. We love to hear the stories, and I think that the stories that we're getting on tape right now need to be heard. It's just sometimes it's mind-boggling to see just the level of racism and the level of things that they're still said and out there, especially in Europe. It's just, especially in Europe. So we have, I think we're 3/4 into to filming, and we have some phenomenal stories, and I think it's going to be a film that will hit home for a lot of people, or at least to educate people that this still happens. It still goes on, and it shouldn't.
Right. How do you decide on a project to say yes to, whether it's acting or producing? What draws you to something?
Well, first of all, I mean, it's who wrote a directing, producing, who's behind it, who's the team, and what have they done in the past, right? Obviously, if they've been very successful in the past, it's already a yes before I can even read the script, so to speak. So that's the main thing, and then obviously if the script is not good, there's not much you can do. So script ultimately the script is the main. But if it's a team that I'm already impressed with and that I know the script can't be that bad, right? Now, will I love the part, like the part, adore the part? The more complex the character is, the more I'll be happy. But sometimes characters aren't your favorite, but it's the phenomenal story. You do the project. So I don't love all my characters. I don't love all the scripts and all the jobs that I do, but I try, and it's a challenge to bring something that I will love.
Right. You find something in it that you like, and you go from there. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. What opportunities, has there been anything that you've said no to that later you went, oh, maybe I should have said yes to that?
I don't think so. No, because when you're starting a career, not that my career has, obviously I'm not a beginner, but when you start your career, you pretty much, once you get cast, you take all the jobs that you can. Then you get to a certain level where this is your job. Then you have to pay bills because you don't have a second job anymore. Once you're a working actor, it's that level of, okay, I don't need another job. I make good enough money, but then you're not at the level where you can turn down these certain, I don't know, lead roles for I don't want to say networks, but certain for certain lower level.
Yeah.
It's not all Spielberg and not all. But
right.
You're not on the level. You have to build your career. So you take the character and you build something, and you try and bring something to it, because you also need material for your reel, right? For your demo reel, and so sometimes there are clips and snips and something that you come up with a character that you can use for your reel. So there's that level, and then once you get enough of this stuff and you prove yourself through so many casting directors that need to know who you are and stuff. So it's that level, right? So I haven't gotten to the point where, yes, I do turn down certain things. But it's rare, because the things that I turn down are the things that my team, my agents, my manager bring to me. They already know where I'm at and what I like and what I don't want to do. So it's already filtered. So I can't say that I've turned down a whole lot.
Okay.
I don't think I'm on that level.
Okay, I understand. Speaking of agents and managers, how did you get those? How did you get an agent and a manager? Was that through relationships, or they came to you, or you reached out to them?
Depends. I mean, it's different in the beginning, right? Once you climb the ladder in the acting world, I think you change agents. The agents that have the biggest. Obviously, when you start your career, you can't be with CAA or the
Gersh, UTA. Yeah.
You start. For me, Canada was the same thing. So I changed agents a couple of times as I was climbing the ladder, and I felt certain agencies have more pull, more more weight, having all the stars. And so my team right now, I called them. I'm looking for representation, and it was, I mean, I have a pretty good resume. I was working.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, they were happy, and again, then it becomes the our characters, do we fit together? Do we gel as far as personalities? That was the main thing, because I think that's the most important thing, because a lot of the agencies, you hear these things that people are leaving their agents and they're with these big agencies, and they said, oh my God, this agency's so bad. Well, why? It really comes down to the relationship between you and your agent, you and your manager, because that's what's key. It's not the agency per se. It really comes down to the agencies that are good, that are well known. It's just, they have to, does your agent believe in you? Do they push? Are they jaded with you? Sometimes you need a change, right?
Right.
Your hunch, you got to follow as an actor, you got to follow your hunch. And if it's time to move, sometimes it's time to move.
Right. What would your biggest tip be to an actor wanting to move to LA and start?
Well, I will start by saying it depends how old you are. Because my age would be different depending on your age. Right. But I would say you need to be very strong and strong-willed and dedicated, and you need to be aware that it is not all sunshine and rainbows. I think Brad Pitt said it, I think, in a speech. I don't know if it was the Oscars, but it's a very lonely place. La La Land. It's a very lonely place, Los Angeles. I mean, everybody from all over the world come to Los Angeles because their mom, dad, uncle, and aunts, they would say, oh, you're so pretty, you're so good looking, you should go to LA and be a model or be an actor. So there's a lot of people from all over the world that come here with this dream, which is great, but it changes the energy a little bit. And I think that you've got to be really well surrounded with good people around you in Los Angeles. I mean, I think that's true in any city, wherever you are in the world, but more so in Los Angeles, just because people say it's fake. I don't want to use the word fake. There's a lot of great places, a lot of great people around here, but just you have to surround yourself with people that actually don't suck your soul, because it is soul sucking in Los Angeles. When you're chasing that dream and you're seeing a lot of money around, there's a lot of money around, and then there's a lot of struggle. So it could be tough. It can be tough. You got to be only the strong survive.
Yes, there's a lot of there's a lot of people that come here. They were a big fish in a small pond, and now they're just a minnow swimming upstream. Right.
It's very true. I mean, I tell people, there's 250 cats. I mean, the number might have changed. I've been told the story years and years ago, and I repeat it, but there's 250 casting directors in Los Angeles. 50 of them are huge. So like there's a lot of roll up your sleeves, and you gotta do the work, because there's a lot of talent here too. I've audited a couple of acting classes, not recently, but in the past, and there's a lot of talent. Right. Need that break,
When you work on a role, do you use a certain technique, something you developed yourself, or are you Meisner or Uta Hagen, or, what tools do you use?
Yeah, over the years, I mean, I did Meisner. I went to school, but Meisner did say whatever works is a technique.
Right.
I don't, depending on certain scenes, it changes. So I don't really look at techniques anymore. Maybe in the beginning, you would do repetitions and this and that. But now, I know how to get to the truth, and I just know how to, whether I use what I've lived, whether I use my imagination, whether I use something that's happened to me before. But I think at the end of the day, most scenes are just the listening and answering, right? There's a lot of, you're not always crying, and you're not always in these heavy scenes that are then you got to dig deep in your psyche or in your past to get to the point where you need to go in that scene. There's a lot of scenes where it's just, it's being truthful, and no bullshit, and no bullshit. I think for me, the biggest thing I see the difference with, the 1% or the the actors that are stuck doing smaller roles is I call it CTB: choices, transitions, behavior. You know, the people say, oh, Meisner would say, there's no BS. I don't know. That's BS, right? You weren't really saying that. So there's truth in the words that you say. Be truthful, but there's also truth in behavior and in transitions. So in a script, you know, that's the biggest difference. Being truthful in your behavior. An ounce of behavior is worth a pound of words. So if you could be truthful in a scene when it's a fight scene, and great people are great in acting classes and stuff, they'll do the scene. But it's easier to be truthful with words than it is in behavior. And behavior never lies. So I think that for me, in my experience, I think the biggest difference between the established actors, the ones that are in the 1% that work consistently, versus the other ones, is it's that little thing. Because most of them can do a scene that's really good. They can pull it off. It's once you're a regular or a lead, you have a lot more scenes. Can you be consistent in every single scene? Right. And I think that's where sometimes it comes in, where it's in the behavior, not so much in the words.
Like matching their actions to their intentions. Is that what you mean? Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. And also, and then you throw in transitions. You know, sometimes in a scene, you talk about one thing and then you transition to another. So how you transition, it's easy to see the page in many actors, right? Especially the ones that are beginning. I mean, I was like that. I still have some beta tapes or VHS from way back.
Yeah. I'm with you. I've got some stuff I definitely don't want anyone to see ever, like ever.
Yeah, it's not easy. It takes a long time to get to
I remember I remember this one acting teacher, you're just folding your laundry, and I just didn't get it. And then one day, you're like, oh, I get it. Like, just supposed to be folding your laundry, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are you working on now? What's, other than the documentary, what else are you up to?
Well, it's funny because I've been telling my agents what is going on. I still feel like we're on strike.
I've heard that from a lot of people.
It's apparently it's been documented. There's not much going on. One of my agents was saying May. He's seeing things kind of start off right now. I mean, there's a couple of things that were on the table that weren't fitting for me. But thank God I have the documentary, and it's not as busy as I thought.
Right. You thought that it would come back faster?
I thought that they need content, right? They need. You would think what I thought. So I don't really know what's going on, but it will pick up for sure. There's a film that it looks like I might be doing and producing in Japan in the fall. So I'm kind of looking. I'm
Yes, if you want someone to go over there and help you out. I lived in Japan. Hajime so I love Japan a lot. So let me know.
Absolutely, yeah.
What's that film about? Can you talk about it, or it's a little bit too soon? Or
it's a bit too soon.
Okay.
And it's I'll say CIA, AI, murder.
Okay.
I don't want to get into it too much because
it's like a suspense thriller or something like that you
psychological thriller. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. What draws you to a certain script? Like you were saying that you sometimes have to act in something that you might not necessarily be drawn to, but if there is something, what do you usually like to do?
What do you mean?
What type of scripts or roles are you drawn to?
The psychological. I like drama. I mean, as soon as my characters are multi-layered characters, as soon as I can actually play a lot with stretch the elastic, so to speak, from the good guy to the bad guy.
Okay.
For example, the film in Japan I'm talking about, there's three characters. He's undercover. There's a lot of things going on. these things, or the good guy you think is the good guy ends up being the killer. All the as soon as there's more than one level and one different levels to the character, I absolutely dive in, and I love it.
Yeah, like twists and turns and depth and
absolutely.
Yeah.
Those are the kinds of characters that I will scripts that I will read first, 100%. The romantic comedy.
Not really your thing.
Well, I mean, yeah, I can do it, right? But it's just my niche. I don't think that that's where I can turn heads, so to speak.
Okay.
No, it's not my forte.
Okay, got you. What's the best piece of advice someone has given you in acting or in life that you use?
There's been for acting there's been quite a,
or life, whichever.
Yeah, no, over my 20-something years of acting, there's been quite a few. One actually, which is, you would think it's not much, but I actually remember the moment. It was a casting director, and it was one of my first couple of weeks, couple of months, maybe my third audition, fourth, fifth, something like that. And I remember she said to me, she said, "Sebastian, remember this, always underplay." I mean, it's not a life quote, and it's not, I have a lot of those, but as far as acting, I think for me, that was a turning point, that small underplay. So I guess I was probably like a lot of people, when you start off, action, you play, you put on exactly the dot, that camera's on.
Yeah.
You got to do something, right?
Right.
But you don't, unless you're doing theater, that's different. But so I always remembered that, and she said, "This is very just underplay." So in my choices, I always had that in the back of my head, and her name was Jennifer. I remember that, and it's a small note, but less is more. It helped me a lot, and I always think that 20-something years later.
Amazing. Is there anything else? Any other sage advice someone's given you?
Oh my God. I wouldn't. What comes up? How long is this interview? But I honestly, I don't. Nothing comes to mind. I mean, I know there's been a lot, but right now you're putting me on the spot.
It's okay. No worries.
Definitely to keep your head up, and like, this is not going to be an easy industry, right? I worked with some really great people early on in my career, and they told me to buckle up, right? And I think that my personality, I can take rejection and know where to put it.
Compartmentalize.
See, the French just came out.
Yeah, no worries.
Because you can't let it get to you. You can't let it's not personal. It's never personal. So it's hard to get all these no's and these. I don't see them as rejections, but so you got to know how to deal with that, because and I remember he said buckle up, and I kind of know what he means now. You just got to roll with the punches. I don't know if there's another career, outside of acting that you get rejected so many times, and yet you're probably doing great. Because if you get rejected so many times, because they're bringing you in, because you're going in and you're being seen. So, but doesn't make it easier.
Right.
Just learn to live with it.
Is there anyone that's really helped you in your career? Anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to? That was, I mean, it could also be something, someone that slapped you and kicked you down the road, or someone that actually helped you nicely, whichever way.
I'll be honest. I was on my own for a long, until I got to a point where, a different level, when I became a series regular and a lead in films, I have to give a shout out. Well, one of my team, I'll say both my teams, but Nigel Mikowski was my agent. One of my agents now is also a good friend of mine, and he was a friend before an agent. I didn't know how good he was, because he was in Vancouver, I was in Montreal and Toronto, but him and Ryan, I mean, another agent. Those two agents that I've had for a long time in Canada are people that believed in me and guided me to whether it's from Montreal to Toronto, and then Toronto, what kind of roles are in Toronto, and then, you know, there's a lot of politics involved. There's a lot of tax credits. So local, they'll see the local talent first. This happens here as well. Atlanta, people move to Atlanta because, well, there's a lot of, when you start out, if you're a name, doesn't matter, they'll hire you no matter where you live. But when you're starting out and you're climbing the ladder, where you are, that's who they're going to see first. So what kind of roles were in Toronto? Me moving to Toronto, being a local in Toronto, then transferring to Vancouver, because they were very, very supportive. And it was, every move that I made turned out to be a good one. And I could say that these two icons in the industry they're friends, and they're the biggest shout out that I would say as far as where I'm at right now in my career.
Is building relationships really important to a career, do you feel?
Number one. That's something that my agents say I'm pretty good at, keeping relationships and making sure that, well, first of all, to keep relationships, you got to make sure you're a professional on set, you know, that they want to maintain that relationship. If you're a bad boy, I'm going to go. You know, but if you're a professional, I mean, this industry, it's too hard to be a diva. The road I'm taking, the road I've been on, I know that you hear it, and there's plenty, maybe in Los Angeles, but probably all over the world. But for me, to be a diva, there's certain things that I stick to for my character. The boss is the director and the producer, and I will bring up things. You can't be shy about bringing all, you know, certain ideas, and then sometimes you want to stick to your guns. But at the end of the day, you know who the boss is, and I think people appreciate the fact that I'm professional, respectful. And that's why it's always been easy for me to keep contacts with the people that I've worked with in the past.
Has there been a time when you were on set where something was a little difficult or, you know, uncomfortable, where you felt, or it's always been professional and everything's always rolled easily for you?
Well, there are. I mean, nothing. Nothing that's for me that would be concerning as far as ethics. I don't know. I don't think so. But there's been very difficult scenes, difficult moments where you know, I played a rapist in a movie in Germany, and those scenes were extremely difficult. So the prep of it. We had to start over. One time I actually started crying in the scene. I think I overbooked.
Oh, wow.
We had to start. It takes its toll. I love the challenge of that, but I started crying in the scene, and because of what had happened there's certain things that connected me to not obviously not to the rapist, but that I know. So it got to me, and then we had to cut and start over, and all. So there's been some moments like that where. Also, what I'm doing to this poor girl, and it's right. It's so those there's been very challenging scenes that I love, but nothing ethically. I've always been very
cool. What, where do you see yourself in the future? In 5 years, where are we going to see you? What's success to you?
Oh. Good question. Success. It's funny. I was talking about that with a buddy actor of mine, I think yesterday or 2 days ago. What is success? Because there's a lot of people, you know, that I've known that will say, "How much time do you give yourself? What do you know? Do you? How long are you going to give this industry a chance?" Right. And you're like, well, because some think that if you're not Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise, like the stars, that you can have a wonderful career like I have, and there's still room to grow, and there's still, you know, steps to climb. But the amount of people that are Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise are minuscule compared to working people. So a lot of people don't necessarily know. They don't see some of the stuff that I do, and there's so much content out there now. They don't even know. They're like, you know, is he still struggling? I'm not struggling. But
there's a lot of working actors. Like there's a lot of people who are constantly working. Are they Brad Pitts or Tom Hanks or Colin Farrell or whoever, no, but you know, they're consistently acting and making a living.
So what is success? What I think that for me is as long as I can do what I love and I'm healthy. If you dropped $1 billion in my account, I would still be doing this.
Right.
I would not stop acting. It's therapeutic for me, and I love it. I want to produce more. So for sure, I want to control a little bit more what I do. That's always been in the cards, and I think that I'm getting to the point where I have enough on my resume that I can actually. I have good people around me, finance people, and I think that once the cards are starting to line up for me to outside this documentary is great.
Right.
But after that, as an executive producer, you also not that I want to put myself in every movie that I produce, but I do want to control a little bit more and have more control in the projects that I do.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you're helping behind the scenes, that's sort of why people do it, so that they can. If you're an actor, obviously, it can help with some acting. Well, where do we find you online?
Oh my God, me and online, I'm old school, right? Be better, but I don't. My Instagram is Sebas Roberts.
Okay.
So that's Robert, but that's, I mean.
Sorry, you broke up a little bit there. Could you just repeat that again?
Sebas, short for Sebastian. Sebas Roberts, Sebas Roberts. Sebas Roberts. That's my Instagram. I might have a Facebook, Sebastian Roberts, but I don't. It's difficult. It's different. You know, I remember years ago, DiCaprio said this in an interview: "The more you know me, the less believable I am."
Right.
And that was before social media. I understand that people love that and stuff, but it's true. The more that you put yourself out there, and acting is the only, as an artist, it's the only job that actually you don't play yourself. I don't want people to know Sebastian Roberts. You want to be believable. Like my family knows me. It's the people that actually say, "Oh, there's Seb on TV in the movie." It's harder for them to not
to watch. Right.
But if you're a painter, if you're a singer, it's great. Social media is great because you are who you are. The more they see you on social media, that's great. But as an actor, it's not something that and I understand that we got to do it. And I haven't turned the corner. I'm on there.
I mean, as long as we can stalk you a little bit, just show some like nice pics every now and again. That's all we want. That's all we're asking for.
That's what I actually do sometimes, and then my son sends me a message. "Oh my God, Dad, delete that." "Oh, really?" So it's funny. I do it. You'll see on the Instagram. But it's just not, and it's not the best. And I'm sure I'll get a team on that at some point, maybe.
It's okay. You don't, just a pick every now and then, Well, anyways, thank you so much for joining us today on Shout Out with Sage. Thanks for taking the time for letting me interview you. And thanks everyone for joining us today and watching, and see you next Wednesday at 4:05. So bye everyone. Thanks, Sebastian. See you out and about, I'm sure.
You bet.
Okay. Bye.